Hi, I'm Dr. Yopp, an advanced grief recovery method specialist certified by the Grief Recovery Institute. Let's have a quick chat about grief. In today's episode of Takeaways About Grief, we continue our revisit of a 6-part mini-series on the 6 major myths of grief as defined by the Grief Recovery Institute. Now, last week we highlighted myth number 2, which said replace the loss. Today we'll chat about myth number 3, which conveys to us we should grieve alone. These myths, if you recall, are things that are dangerous to us as grievers because they prevent us from letting go of the pain that surrounds an emotional loss. So we've learned number 1, which told us don't feel bad. Number 2 told us to replace the loss. And today I'll share with you myth number 3, grieve alone. If I was a betting woman, I would wager that you'd agree with me when you hear me say that grievers tend to isolate, right? Well, though it's true and it's a dangerous factor for those who are grieving, would you be surprised to hear me say that isolating is not a natural impulse? Isolation is a learned behavior. So let's talk about it this way. I want you to complete this phrase for me. When you laugh, the whole world laughs with you. When you cry, you cry. Now, I bet that the majority of you, before I even got to the end of that phrase, had already jumped to the end and used the word alone, right? You completed that phrase with alone. You cry alone. So let's talk about how false this idea is. When you get good news, what is your natural impulse? What do you want to do? What's the first thing you want to do when you've learned good news? Most people, when they're asked this question, they respond with share it with other people, right? You want to tell your spouse, your children, your best friend, people who, in other words, are important to you. You want to let them know that good news. When you receive bad news or sad news, your impulse is actually the exact same. It is not to isolate. Rather, you want to share what has happened to someone you trust. The problem is that over the course of a lifetime, right, we've had all these inputs of being told, laugh and you laugh with the world laughs with you, and cry, you cry alone. Or if you're going to do all that crying, go to your room, right? Or big girls don't cry, and definitely boys don't cry. So when you've received all these inputs, when all these things have been conveyed to you, what you begin to hear is sharing those emotions with other people or crying in front of other people is a burden to other people, right? And so you lose then that natural impulse to share that news with someone else. Don't feel bad. Replace the loss. Grieve alone. 3 myths that we've talked about so far that do absolutely nothing to diminish your pain. Thank you for watching, and join me next time when I talk about myth number 4, time heals all wounds. Disclaimer, it absolutely does not.